let's review the key principles of flow and why I like to trade that particular style of trading. Flow basically refers to a very, very simple idea that an object in motion is generally going to stay in that motion. It's the idea of applying the principles of physics to the principles of psychology to the principles of trading. It's buying breakouts, buying highs, selling lows, which is something that most retail traders absolutely hate to do because they feel like they're chasing price and they're late to the game and they're going to get stopped out and all of those things that we hear all the time. When in fact, over and over and over and over again, we see that is the trade that works. That is a trade that actually creates the profitable opportunities, right? So just bear with me here, guys, one sec. Okay. So now, no. And, okay, I'm going to make a rule here. Nobody's going to ask me any in-the-moment trading ideas. I'm not going to give any trading signals right now because I just want to explain the process. It's much better if you understand the process than if you just understand one single trade that happens in real time right now. The process is very simple. What I basically try and do is try to catch the movement from the 50-yard line, from the 50-point line, to the 0-0 line, to the 0-0 line. I try to catch that movement in the euro-dollar primarily, and I try to catch it between the hours of, this is all New York time, 4 in the morning to around 12 noon, the prime trading hours in the currency market. Okay? So there are 100 different ways to approach this strategy. And the principal idea that I have is that the price must move 50 points from the 00 to the 50 before I get interested. And then I'm going to try and see if I can capture the next 50 points to the 00. Now, why do I trade the 50 to the 00 instead of, let's say, from the 00 to the 50? And frankly, it's a small, but I think a significant difference. And the reason is this. Psychologically, people like to run numbers towards the 00 line. Now, that's not the only reason the prices are going to go up. In fact, it's not even the primary reason the prices are going to go up. It's just simply an underlying technical support. I think one of the most important things that people who trade flow need to understand is that just because it's crossed the 50 line doesn't mean it's predetermined to go over the 00 line or that there's some kind of a mysterious force that's going to drive it. The reason it's going to happen is because we already have some sort of an underlying fundamental driver in the market. And as we get close to the 00 level, where a lot of people leave their stops, the technical force drives people to want to see if they could go and take out those positions at those levels. And at the same time, this is kind of interesting, the technical force also has people defending that level with all their might. Because remember, a lot of people leave their stops right around the 00 level. So if you can trigger those stops, you obviously are in a good position. And if you can defend against those stops, you're also going to be in a good position because you're going to get movement back. I'm going to show you how both of those triggers and defenses worked well today. Anyways, that's the underlying reason. The key reason why things move in the currency market has nothing to do with charts, has nothing to do with price dynamics, has everything to do with news. It is a story-driven market, which is why it's so hard to trade, because the story changes on a dime. That's why moving averages, Bollinger Bands, MACDs, all the crap that everybody teaches you, I don't. I don't trade it because it's all useless in my opinion, because technical indicators are simply an overlay on price, and they don't drive price. What drives price is news. Now, where do I watch news from? I watch news from every source, but basically my primary sources of news are CNBC Global. I have a subscription to CNBC Global, which means I watch CNBC Asia and CNBC Europe and CNBC US, because I'm basically looking for headline news. I watch the Dow Jones Newswire off the GFT Dealbook platform, and I watch the Twitter feeds where everybody disseminates information all the time. Remember, it's not that you need to be first to the news. What you need to be is the most intelligent in analyzing the news, right? So we know that today the big news story of the last few days, of course, the last few weeks, has been the EU summit. And within that EU summit, the big news story is, are they going to come up with a big enough number to push back the shorts in the sovereign debt market, because that's the key thing that's going to support the euro, right? So up to this morning, we had a lot of uncertainty because they haven't come up with any kind of meaningful resolution from the EU summit. And compounded to that, we had really bad economic data suggesting that, that the eurozone is going into the tank, that it's going into a recession. So when you start out this morning, initially we had a big burst. In Asia, we had positive PMI data out of China, and this convinced people that Chinese are not going into what's called not a double dip recession, but sort of a hard landing. The Chinese were actually going to engineer a soft landing of their economy, and that of course created a lot of positive risk into early Europe. But then when the numbers in Europe came out and there was no additional news out of the EU summit, all this disappointment came in, and we had a move from 39.50 all the way to 39, and then a break of the 38.50s, right? And this is where I got short. I got short with 2 units of my trade, 2 lots. And this is what I want to show you. I got short 2 units of the move because we had a move from the 00 to the 50-point move, right? Negative news, blah, 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 into the European hours. And here's the innovation that I did that is really helping our flow trades. Before, we used to trade 2 types of flow trades. We used to trade where we get short the 50s, get out at, plus 25, and then try to, and get another unit short, at around 65, try to go for the 00 level, right? Now, I've changed that methodology. And now I get short 2 units of the 50s. And what I try and do is, when the price goes to 25, like it did over here, right? It went to 25. We take 1 unit off, and then we take the other unit and we go to break even. I put my stop back to break even. And this has actually helped tremendously because what it's done is if there is no continuation, I've banked 25 points and I haven't lost any money on the second position, right? So now I'm plus 25 on a trade, and when the trade turned around on me, I wasn't hurt. Before, I would make money on the first trade, but I would lose money on the second trade, and I would get hurt. My payoff ratio became much better.